Seems to me a lot of people, particularly east of the Rockies, don't get why people on the West Coast are so riled up about the new Kinder Morgan pipeline. Well, I think I can show you in the next few minutes, and I'm not going to talk about global warming, oil spills, or native rights. I am going to talk about the Bunsfield Oil Depot, northwest of London, the real London. In the early morning of Sunday, December the 11th, 2005, they were filling one of the big tanks. Normally, the guys in the control room watched over the operation on a computer, but that day the computer was down. Nobody was too concerned because higher up the tank, 2/3 of the way up, they had this thing called an independent high-level switch. If the oil got that high, the plunger would float up, completing an electrical circuit, and that would shut off the oil. But wouldn't you know, for the switch to work, a little padlock had to be in place. Who would suspect? Certainly the maintenance crew didn't, because they forgot to put the padlock back. So when the oil reached the high-level switch, it just kept rising. At 5:37 in the morning, the fuel reached the top of the tank. It began to pour out of the vents like a Niagara Falls of oil. At that point, there was another bit of bad luck, the weather. It was cold, and the droplets of oil mixed with tiny ice crystals in the air to form a vapor cloud, a mist of oil. Even though it wasn't yet 6 in the morning, there were already truck drivers on the site. They saw the vapor cloud, they smelled the oil, and they even felt their engines sputter. They warned the control room. The emergency alert button was pressed at 6:01, which automatically started a pump for firefighting. Bad idea. At 6:04, an electrical spark from the pump ignited the vapor cloud. The explosion was heard in France, Belgium, and Holland. The fire spread to the other tanks, which also exploded. The fire burned for 5 days. The smoke stretched 100 kilometers. That's what was left when the fire was finally put out. This is the Burnaby tank farm, where the oil that comes down the pipeline from the Alberta tar sands is stored. That's Simon Fraser University on the ridge and a bit of the city of Burnaby below. This is how the tank farm will look after the expansion. After it's done, the Burnaby tank farm will hold over 5 million barrels of oil, actually diluted bitumen, or dilbit. First, the good news. The kind of fire that happened in Bunsfield won't happen in Burnaby. Dilbit is too heavy to form a vapor cloud. It's mostly bitumen, which is essentially tar. The bad news is diluted bitumen is susceptible to its own kinds of fires and explosions, like this one near Haifa, Israel in December, or this one in New Mexico, also last year, or this one in Nicaragua, all in 2016. Given the number of oil depots all over the world, major fires like those are relatively rare, but they're not all that rare. In 2015, there were major tank fires in Kiev, Ohio, and California. In 2014, in Nanjing, Argentina, and Libya. This was a terrible fire in Venezuela in 2012. It killed 41 people. And this one was just south of Vancouver in Anacortes, Washington, 6 years ago. Odds are there won't be a fire like that in Burnaby, but then the odds were the same for all those other oil depots as well. Nobody wants a fire like that, so they all do their best to keep the risk ALARP, as the regulators say, as low as reasonably practicable. But as they say up north, only one bear in 100 bites, but they don't come in order. The trouble is, excuse the expression, shit happens. Pieces of equipment fail, people make mistakes, head office orders cutbacks and layoffs, lightning strikes. What can you do? The only thing is what they now do all over the world. If you're going to handle millions of barrels of toxic flammable stuff, you do it far away from town. So if the worst happens, it's like this, or this, or like this, or like this. So that's what they do, everywhere, all over the world, except here, in Burnaby, British Columbia. Or as the tank farm will be after the expansion. Notice that road above the new tanks at the top. That's the only road down the mountain from Simon Fraser University. So if the tanks are on fire, there's no escape route. Almost certainly the conservation forest would go up in flames, so it wouldn't be a good time to be at Simon Fraser. And not only is the tank farm surrounded by homes, a forest, and a university, it's built on the side of a mountain in an earthquake zone. So what can happen to a tank farm in an earthquake? This is the Valdez oil terminal after the 1964 earthquake. And this is Tokachi, Japan after the 2003 quake. So, Kinder Morgan has promised to build the new tanks to the highest earthquake-proof standard, but they're not bringing the existing tanks up to that standard, which is like waterproofing one side of your tent. If I know all this, you'd think the National Energy Board would know it too, and they do. There were peer reviews which shot holes in Kinder Morgan's rosy risk predictions. Dr. Ivan Vince, one of the top experts in the world, told the National Energy Board that this project would never be approved in the UK or in the European Union. The Burnaby Fire Department said, "The design creates situations where firefighting is not possible, creating a very real risk of an inextinguishable multi-tank fire event." The National Energy Board knew all that, but they recommended the project anyway. And in November, the federal government approved it. Prime Minister Trudeau said, "I wouldn't have approved it if I wasn't sure it was safe." Yeah, well, so why? Why run the pipeline through Metro Vancouver, the most densely populated place in Western Canada? And why have all those tankers, 400 a year, go through Burrard Inlet, one of the most crowded waterways on the continent? The only reason is it's cheaper and easier for Kinder Morgan, and that makes it cheaper and quicker to sell our tar sands oil, regardless of the cost of the climate, the environment, First Nations rights, or even people's safety. Meanwhile, here in BC, our Premier announced that the pipeline met all of BC's conditions. She didn't announce that Kinder Morgan and the other tar sands companies donated $771,000 to her re-election campaign. The same recklessness and disregard around the tank farm is there in every aspect of this project. Stopping this thing is going to be tough, no doubt about it. But we've done harder things, and we need your help. Please donate to the First Nations Court Challenge. You can do that at raventrust.org. It's even tax deductible. Go figure. If you like this video, please pass it on. And if you're in BC, for God's sake, vote to get rid of this embarrassing government. It's going to be an uphill battle, but the good news is we are not alone.